Okay, good evening, everyone. JP Koster, coming to you live from Cape Town. I hope you're doing well. It's so great to chat to all of you. Obviously, a brand new year, a year of new beginnings, and I guess for me, the most important thing is, with a new year, it gets to give you the opportunity to do things differently. And so, super excited to be on the call this evening and share with all of you. My wife Bertha has also done an incredible talk. Obviously, she's busy with the kids at the moment, so we're going to just be doing a recording that she did. But yeah, just from my side, just for all of you making the effort to be on the call this evening, well done. You couldn't have been at a better place than being on this call. I think really it's going to add a lot of value. And for me, one of the most important things about, starting a new year is that whole thing about, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I think for me, if you haven't planned your year, it's not too late. I mean, we're just getting started with the year now. And I'm really hoping that after this evening that a lot of us can make some really, really big decisions about where we want to go for the year. Because really, it's almost like you can start the year off, if you think about a athletic race, you can either, it's like on your marks, get set, go. And I think for me, you can either start the year running or you can start, later in the year and try and catch up. And I think for me, the people that get the year started off right are just at such an advantage for the year going ahead. And if you think about it, there's some obviously things that are happening. We've got our incentive that's going to be launching, hopefully in February, otherwise March, but I presume hopefully February as traditionally it has been. So this is a great time to start. This is a great time to look at your business, reflect back on the year. And I think for me, just something to share with all of you just before we get started. I think, just looking back at 2020, I think it was a challenging year for a lot of people. But I want to specifically share with all of you from a Manatech point of view. And Darren just sent me, who's our GM for the market, sent me these figures through, of last year. And just to mention to all of you, I mean, Manatech had an incredible year in South Africa in 2020. And I think I have no doubt that this year is going to be even better year because we are going to be better prepared. We know exactly what to expect. But just to give you an idea, recruitment in South Africa last year increased by 21.4%. Our product sales were up by 18.9%. Our revenue increased by 12.7%. I mean, to give you all just an indication, if you look at in 2019, we had 3 new presidential directors and 3 new bronze presidential directors. Last year, I mean, just listen to this. We had 9 new presidential directors in South Africa, 5 new bronze presidentials, 1 new silver presidential, and 2 new gold presidential. So, I mean, for me, that is just incredible. I mean, we had October last year was the best month we've ever had. So, ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's like we're all at the right place at the right time. It's now just about putting action and time and activity into this. So, just for me, I think something that's really important just before I just share about this story, or at least a topic, is just that, I think it's important to celebrate every single win that you have, and I think for me, specifically about 2021 is to make your success story louder than your excuse story. There's always going to be, you can always get, and say, oh, I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it next week. I think procrastination kills so many people in this industry. So the best thing you can do is just get going. It's completely in your hands, what you make of this year. And I want to share with all of you that I'm proud of all of you being on the call this evening. Thanks for taking the time and effort out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do a quick screen share. So hopefully this video will work better than her talk this afternoon when the kids were out playing. So hopefully this is going to come out okay across. So yeah, just let me see if this works. I'm doing a screen share. What's important now is that just before I do that, I just want to do one more thing because I know how this does work. Sometimes if you don't do this perfectly, is you got to share the sound as well. So there we're sharing the sound. And now I need to find that video of hers, which is going to be, it was here. So let me just get this quickly. Okay, now I wonder where that talk is now. So let me just look for it. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is, okay, let me just quickly try and find this video. It was, yeah. And now, it's, as you know how things work, it just disappeared. So let me just try and find this video quickly. But anyways, while I'm looking for the video, I think, if I had to describe to a lot of you, at least for me, looking back at last year, I think it was really very much a year of, people not knowing what to expect, and I think for me, the best thing you can do is just preparation. So anyways, I have now found my video here, so it's going to work now. So we're going to Finder, and this should work. So just, I'm sure some of you will send me a message to let me know if it is working. So here we go. Okay, just bear with me. The video was not working for some other reason, so I'm just going to try again quickly. This should hopefully work now. So just, okay, here we go. So hopefully this will work now. Full screen.
Good evening, everybody. It is absolutely awesome to be a part of the school this evening. Thank you, JP. And thank you to all of you for joining and for hopping on this call. In all honesty, I've actually recorded my little insert a little bit earlier, just in case I don't make my live slot at 8 o'clock with everything happening. A school meeting being moved to a Zoom meeting just before this, and just with my kids' bedtimes, that's a bit messed up. And let me tell you, there's absolutely nothing more determined or eager or curious than a toddler outside of a closed door where the messages actually don't come in. So happy to share a few brief moments with you from my side. Um, it's been wonderful that we've had this platform throughout this time to carry on to connect and to do meetings and to do trainings and to carry on with the growth that's needed in the business. Um, I know JP will most certainly share some amazing thoughts and tactical tips for goal setting and how to go about getting your year on track and setting the intention right to make the most of it. And I'm looking forward to listening to that later. But for now, I'm just going to take a few brief moments to share with you a message from my side, my personal feelings, tips, maybe thoughts around, some New Year's resolutions or goals um, that you might have or that I may have. And just before I look into the year that's coming or the year that we're currently starting with, I do want to reflect back on 2020 and just reflect and just also pay gratitude to what the year was, because despite all the chaos and the uncertainty of that year, there were many blessings, and I believe also um, some some degree of growth, if not a lot of growth, in many cases. So, just if we look at last year, 2020, I mean, who of us would have thought in January or February that in March everything would change so drastically? And the whole way that we go about our lives, the way we go to work and go to school, and the way that we spontaneously interact with one another um, would change. I think, in a way, for me, it has felt that life has lost a little bit of its spontaneity, if I can call it that. And yes, for sure, it was definitely a challenging time for everybody in some way. For some, it was financially, for some, or is financially, emotionally, for relationships, for their careers. Everybody has some sort of a challenge that they're going through. And I think a lot of people have had moments of fear and anxiety because that's what we do when things are uncertain. We are scared. And I hope that you've managed through everything to cope and to still grow and to remain positive and excited, for what's happening in your life and what can happen in your life. even when you were overwhelmed. I mean, some of us might have struggled with loneliness. Some of us might have struggled with juggling different roles at home, being at home, having to provide, having kids that were homeschooling, not being able to see our friends, and just feeling really overwhelmed with the responsibility of fulfilling all of those things. Maybe some of us have really missed the personal interaction with people. As we didn't have our meetings and our super regionals as per usual. Maybe some of you have had conventional businesses or jobs where you've had to take a job cut, or even more so, you've lost your job or lost your business. And I feel for you, and I want you to congratulate yourself and say you did enough and you were enough. And I want to commend you for being brave and remaining resilient through a time that has really been um, challenging for everybody. And with these challenges, I also would like to look on the flip side, um, because I do feel, and from my perspective, and from just speaking to people, that there were also still a lot of good that came out of 2020, and a lot of blessings that were still upon our lives, and a lot of growth. And there were definitely a few silver linings. And I think it's great if you can manage to see the glass half full and to see those blessings. And maybe it is that you got the time to truly get to know your partner or your spouse, or maybe you had the time to really sit and play with your kids, where you usually rush from a 9 to 5 and you don't really get that quality time. Maybe you took up an old hobby that you've kind of thrown away, and that just ignited again. And maybe you took up gardening or cooking, or finally decluttered your garage, or finally, read a pile of books that you've always wanted to do. Maybe for the first time, you've actually had some time to put in your business and to sit down and to contact people and to plug in on these online meetings. And maybe you were actually proactive, and maybe there was a lot of growth. So I want to just feel grateful for all the good things that were part of 2020. And in the same um, breath, I want to thank corporate for their hard work of that they put in, because I believe it was very busy, and we were very lucky and grateful to have the product on a essential service list. So thank you for that. And this brings me back to Manatech and the amazing product and the opportunity. And I think COVID and coronavirus and this entire lockdown period has, in a way, brought even more credibility and more value to this business and network marketing, probably in general, but to the Manatech opportunity. And I think it has made it more lucrative than before. I think many people that have never considered, or thought they would never consider this as something serious that they would be a part of, are now reconsidering their decisions, and actually, supplementing their income, or working on their health, or seeing this as a way to add value in some degree to their lives. And that is something to really celebrate. And I think that is something that we can work from and still capitalize in the year to come. The fact that this is an opportunity that answers to not one need. People have different needs. And I think Manatech answers to the need for better health, wellness, people needing additional income, people wanting to grow an emergency fund, people wanting to make more money, people wanting to interact with like minded people, people that have dreams to go on holidays, i.e., incentives. So we must use this vehicle and think of it as really an answer to um, what might be a lot of the goals on the list of many people. And I think a lot of the associates, or many associates, during the lockdown period, had higher volume than ever before, and reached their highest spend that they've ever had. So I want to congratulate you for staying excited, for still plugging in and sticking to the system and growing your businesses, even in a time when we were connecting less, you actually managed to be really proactive and to make this happen. And I think we can be so appreciative and grateful for that in our lives and the role that Manatech is actually playing. And well done if you actually managed to turn a situation perceived as a loss into a total win. And it shows you that it's all about mindset and, the ability to remain resilient when things aren't always favorable. Um, so I hope you've grown, and I hope that you can take the good out of 2020. I'm really sorry for everybody who possibly contracted the virus or has family or loved ones suffering. You are in my thoughts. Moving on to this year, 2021, and just some thoughts around goals. And I'm just going to call it New Year's resolutions because we are at the start of the year. And this is generally the time that people relook or get back to the basics where they think what they want to achieve. And people set out New Year's resolutions, and goals are ultimately the plans we make to achieve the things that we've always wanted, being our dreams. And goals are very, very important. um, in my opinion, there's quite a close relationship, or kind of an interrelationship, between the concepts of wellness, success, and happiness. And I'm not going to go into which one precedes the other, but if we think of those three things, we need to set out goals to really attain um, a level of success or wellness or happiness. And I think those three things mean different things to all of us, and it's quite a personal thing. What what is success to me might be something completely different to someone else. But starting with goals, the one thing that I would like to say is goals are super important. It just sets you up, having goals just sets you up so much better to actually achieve what you want in the long run. And research has shown, this is not what I say, this is you know what people have, what professionals have found over years, is that people that actually write down and they sit and they look at their goals and physically write them down, have a much greater chance of actually achieving what they set out. And so I want to challenge you. Um, I want to say that if you haven't done so, which I believe probably most of you have, but if you haven't thought of your goals for the year, maybe become a bit still and think about your goals and actually write them down and look at them, because writing them down just keeps us accountable, it keeps us motivated, and it sets a type of momentum to actually set intent and changing our daily go about to go there. And to be honest, you don't need a long list of 30 goals for the year. Sometimes it's more powerful to have one or two, three things that you would like to achieve, um, something you'd like to master, one or two things you'd like to do differently. Maybe you want to leave something behind that no longer serves you, negative emotions, emotions that are holding you back to function optimally. So think about those goals and then write them down. It's funny actually, if I think of the most popular goals that people set out for themselves in the beginning of the year or New Year's resolutions, and I think number one is to get in shape, two is to lose weight, three is saving money, four is to eat healthier, and number five, being self care, which by the way is not a selfish thing, something very, very important. I encourage you to implement um, or to make part of your goals list is self care. But if you look at those popular resolutions, it's amazing how Manitech actually answers to many of them, in a wellness perspective and in a money perspective. And JP always says those are the two things that we really can answer to. So that Manitech does remain a source of hope if you look at what people are really looking for. But you can have other goals. Your goals might include to read more. That's a popular one that I always have. Maybe a goal, and I think personally this is a very good one, is to spend less time on social media. Um, Although social media is a great, great tool to recruit people, to connect with people, to put yourself out there and your business out there, social media, and if it's not a habit that you put a boundary in, can become a bit overwhelming. And in a way, our own lives to us loses um, loses its flair and its amazingness when we focus so much on what others have and what they've achieved that we almost feel lesser. And it's human to feel insignificant when we, only look and focus on what others have and what we don't. So I want to encourage you with social media, spend your time wisely and have an open mind when you scroll through, and don't make it the first thing that you do every morning when you wake up is put on Facebook or Instagram. So social media can be one thing, maybe eliminating a bad habit, learning a new skill, maybe with your emotions is to, have more boundaries, or to not talk to yourself so negatively and be kinder to yourself. So people can have a lot of goals, and I want to say that whatever your goals might be, they are valid. And yeah, well done if you can write them down. Well done if you've taken some time to put them on paper, because that is really the first step of getting there. And I just want to share um, two or three or four ideas around my thoughts around goals and things. And I think, as I mentioned, number one, write down your goals. Makes them tangible, keeps you accountable, it keeps you motivated, it puts you in that kind of rut or momentum to actually start doing something. Because if it's not there, it's not here, and it's always just, not within reach. So write them down, and believe me, you've got a much greater chance of realizing any of that when you've written it down. Secondly, I want to say that, well, I want to encourage you to, um, just as wellness isn't a one-dimensional thing. You don't just get physical wellness or nutritional wellness, emotional wellness, mental wellness. You also get occupational wellness, environmental wellness, spiritual wellness with your faith. I want to encourage you to not just have one dimensional goals where your goals are only regarding your health or your money. Maybe it's a good thing to consider goals that that speak to every aspect of you, your emotions, your finances, your wellness. Maybe you can think of things in all those dimensions that can really take you further, and it's something that you can work towards, because I feel those systems are so um, interrelated, because I feel we can't only be well financially. I think in order to be well financially, we must be well mentally or emotionally, and to feel emotionally well, we must um, be well from a nutritional point of view. So I want to encourage you to not have one-dimensional goals. Thirdly, very very important. Um, this is ultimately probably the stepping stones for getting closer to goals that are slightly more long term. And I want to add to that is some goals you might set for the week, some for the month, quarter, for a year, some 5 year goals. Those are all personal to you. But maybe this, in essence, the stepping stone to goals are daily habits. Your daily habits will either take you closer to where you want to be, or they're going to take you further away from where you want to be. I mean, we can't expect to do X, 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 but our long term goal is Y, because that doesn't add up. So I think don't underestimate the power of the small little things that you do repetitively every day. It's like that book, The Slight Edge. It's the little bits every day that makes the big difference at the end. And my mother always says, "How do you eat an elephant?" And I didn't know. And then she just says, bit by bit by bit by bit. And yeah, habits are a powerful thing. And I think regarding habits, The one really great tip I'd like to give you that's worked for me in my life to give momentum to my day, to keep me motivated, to keep me positive and excited and encouraged and full of self belief and um, motivation is the power of a good morning routine. Um, you can't end the day well, I think, if you haven't started it well. And I think if you decide to, in some way, structure a bit of a morning routine that's going to set you up in the day, that's going to enable you to feel good about yourself. If you feel good about yourself, you function way better. You set great first impressions. You are energetic. You almost have a type of a contagiousness about you where people draw great energy from you. So I want to encourage you, have a good morning routine. I've got my little thing I do every morning. It's not exactly the same, but it is kind of the same. I get up quite early, and I'm going to say that I choose to get up early. It's not because I've got small children. No, I've always been a person. I like to rise early, as they say. And I have my lemon water, and then I have my coffee, and then I have my breakfast way later. I try and read, or I really like classical music, so I listen to some music, or I listen to a part of a podcast. But it sets your intention for the day. It almost energizes you, but it grounds you. It's a funny thing. So I want to encourage you to develop a morning routine. Mine, yours also might include some prayer or meditation, or just breathing, or reading as it is with me. But develop a sound morning routine because you just set yourself up so much better to achieve what you've planned. I know JP, and he'll probably refer to that later. He's got a to do list. He holds himself accountable. He writes it down, and he can actually see what he needs to do. And once you see what you need to do, it just becomes easier to actually do it. So yeah, set up a great morning routine. Um, and see how that might change things for you. And just regarding some emotions that I think is important when we look at our goals, or when when we're starting to do things to get closer to achieve them, I think there's some important emotions that we need to look at, that doesn't really serve us well as people and as humans. It's easier said than done, getting rid of some emotions, but maybe you should consider comparing yourself less. If I look over my life, it's something that's been very powerful to me, believing in my own authentic self, not constantly comparing what I am, what I have, to what others have. I read a really amazing book by Jordan Peterson called The 12 Rules of Life. And one of the rules is compare yourself to the person that you were yesterday and not the person who someone else is today. And that's really powerful because only you can walk this road as best as you can. Only your authentic self, along with the skills of the system, um, can do this in the best way possible. Be authentic. It is not always easy, and something that social media doesn't make easier either is the fact that we always compare, and we can very easily feel that we aren't good enough, we don't believe in our capabilities, or we simply don't believe that we're worthy of something. And if I can say, it is so worth it to work on this, because if you get this right, um, a lot of the other things become easier. If I get it right to believe in myself, to feel worthy of what I'm doing and the way in which I'm doing it, you are setting yourself up to do or to get there, um, way easier. And please, I encourage you for this year, maybe make a part of how you run your daily lives, or make one of your goals to compare less, because only you can be the amazing you, nobody else. So please stay authentic. Um, and then the last thing that I just wanted to say is, this thought just kind of came to me yesterday. I haven't read many pages of this book, but I started reading a book called The Art of Fairness. And it speaks about the power and the decency in a world turned mean. And it just goes about completely proving that famous phrase of nice guys end last. It actually says exactly the opposite. And it uses a lot of case studies and stories. And as I say, I'm still in the beginning, where it um, actually says that with fairness and with listening and with empathy, um, that has actually got a massive place in the workplace today and in businesses and in building teams. And nice guys finish first. And I want to encourage you this year, along with the system and your pursuit of reaching your goals and building your business and increasing your volume and recruiting a lot of people and growing this amazing business big with your skills and some of the tactical stuff that JP might encourage you with. I want to encourage you to um, also put some emphasis on the softer skills and the subtleties, because I truly feel that it's only with the subtleties and these softer skills combined with the tactical skills of the business and the knowledge of that, that you can go all the way. And by that I mean that walk this path with empathy, walk this path with love, with kindness, with understanding for people, care for people, grow the ability to work in a team, to listen to people, and grow the ability to want the best for people, want people to do well, love people, because I can assure you, if you can carry those emotions throughout your daily pursuit, combined with all your skills, it can take you so much further. And I want to again commend you for what you've achieved. I want to thank you for all your stories. I want to thank you for inspiring me. And I want to say that you need to stay safe and stay fearless, because I believe it's going to be a great year. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and enjoy the rest that JP has to share. Thank you.
Awesome. Wow. I think it was fantastic, Bertha. Well done. I'll definitely be letting you know afterwards. Thank you very much for sharing. And just before I start, I just want to share, just from my side, just to our entire group, all the leaders, super, super proud of all of you. Thanks for what you guys do. And also to my upline, Silwan, Prinsloo, and New and Yanni from Linda, thank you very much for your guidance and support. And also, like Bertha alluded to earlier, to the whole corporate team. We all work together, and they really go out of their way to help us and to guide us and to and just to make sure things happen. So thank you very much for what you guys do. So let's get into the topic of this evening. We will be done in the next 15-20 minutes. I'll try and keep it sweet and short, and hopefully we can do some more of these during the year. So for me, I wanted to be talking specifically about 4 different things. When you're looking at your year ahead, 2021, I think the first thing is you got to do an audit, and I'm going to be elaborating on that. The second thing you got to do without a doubt is your goal setting. Thirdly, you got to work on your time management, and fourthly, what's very, very important is your accountability. So for me, first of all, I think when you look at audits, for me, it's really looking at your year of 2020 and looking at that year and saying, what are my numbers? Like, where was I at for the year? I mean, for a lot of us, when we look back at 2020, think about it like this. If you could think about a word for 2020, what would it be? Like, would it be like, it was a challenging year, or was it, a change, or I really realized that I needed pivots in my life, or whatever it was. But I think if you could sum up your 2020 year with a word, I think it's almost quite a nice thing for me, because I think for a lot of us in this call this evening, it might be a word like you were surprised, like you were completely like not sure what's going on. But for me, I think very, very important is have an audit on your year. I mean, and for me, some of the things you got to look at regarding that is having a look at like what your volume was, like what was the volume you're producing. I mean, I keep a whole log of of the volume, my personal volume, the volume of different leaders in my group, so I know exactly what's going on. If you're brand new on the call this evening, then obviously this doesn't really apply. But have a look at your PPV, have a look at your DPV, so you know exactly where you were last year. The next thing, try and have a look at, like, from an engagement point of view, like how many people did you have on system last year? How many people did you have at functions? And something that I've just recently implemented, which I think is also very, very valid, is have a look at what was your income that you made last year, because then you know where you're working towards from a business point of view. Now, I mean, we're talking about business goals, because obviously there are lots of different types of goals we can have. I mean, we've got, I mean, we'll cover that a little bit later. But I think very, very important from a business point of view, I think really have an audit on your year and try and see where the wins were for you. Like, where did you win? Like, I mean, decide to see them, because there always going to be wins in every single thing that you do. So very, very important is have a look at your entire year. Remember that doubt kills action and action kills doubt. So if you're in action, if you're doubting, just get into action. If you're in action, you're not going to have doubt. So very, very important. Something else for me, I think you have to see the blessings in all the challenges you go through. And, you know, something I learned quite a few years ago was like, what is, you know, in any challenge you go through, like, what is the gift in the challenge you're going through? Like, I mean, how can I learn from this? Because in every single adversity you go through, there is a seed of opportunity. So try and see what blessings there were, try and see what you could be grateful for. So for me, super important to do that. I mean, something else I think is also really important to do is, I think for all of us in this call this evening, is to really just realize that you've got a responsibility. Like, I mean, I think for me, if I look at 2021 or 2020 at least, it's like realizing, man, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for the decisions I make. I'm responsible for, you know, for where my business is at, how many people I spoke to. I'm responsible for my family. I mean, I think, you know, like, you know, with that now, we've got 2 young kids. It's like, you know, it's like, if I'm not going to do it for me, like then do it, I've got to do it for them. You know, like if I don't want to go out there and talk to people about this incredible product because I'm maybe not motivated, because I'm having a bad day or whatever, find something that can actually drive you and motivate you. So for me, without a doubt, have a look at do an audit on you. And I'm not just talking from a business point of view. Maybe do an audit on like everything in your life, you know, like just, you know, from a health point of view, from a, you know, even from an investment point of view, from a relationship point of view. So from all those different aspects, like have an audit so you know exactly where you're starting. So, and I think I would encourage people to do this every single year. In the beginning of the year, or at least at the end of the year, is look at the year that's gone past and see where you're at. So that for me is the first thing, is talking specifically about like have an audit on your 2020 year, because now you know where to work towards. So I think the second thing for me is goal setting. Now, without a doubt, goal setting is something I've always been very passionate about. I've seen so many times in my life how many times I've written things down and visualized things, how they've become a reality and how they've manifested in my life. So the key thing with this is to realize that consistency is the key to reaching any goals that you have. And, you know, I think for me, what all of us should be doing now is write down your goals, write down the goals you perhaps have from a financial point of view, like business and personal finances, perhaps from a family point of view and friends and relationships. Some of the other goals, you know, for you could be from a faith point of view or a spirituality point of view, maybe even, you know, a mindset point of view, fitness goals that you may have for the year, you know, from a, you know, which is obviously physical, you know, or health or whatever. And then of course also like, you know, what are the fun things you want to do? I mean, maybe you have some goals about places you want to see or things you want to do, memories you want to create. But I think for me, write down those goals. And for me, the thing is, what you got to realize is the level that you play at is the level your team is going to play at. Like, so whatever level you play at, if you're not willing to write down your goals, don't expect your team to do it. If you're not willing to contact and invite people, don't expect your team to do it. If you're not willing to attend the functions or come onto obviously it's quite difficult now to attend functions, but let's assume that this is the function, don't expect your group to do that, because your group is going to do whatever you do. So, but I want to encourage you, make a list of, you know, even if it's just 20 things, goals you have, and some of them might be small goals, but they need to be stretchingly realistic, you know, because otherwise you just don't even go for it. But you want to focus on a few things you want to accomplish for there. Sometimes it can become overwhelming if you've got too many things you want to do. And what I would do is I would list them, I would prioritize the goals, and I obviously categorize them. Because remember, and I think something for me also, like if you look at goal setting, I think for me also for 2021 is learn how to say no, because every time you say yes to something, it might, if you know what you're working towards, I mean, I've always said this in so many presentations previously, if you know where you're going, the decisions become easy. So if you've made a decision this evening that, you know, I'm going to go become a presidential director this year, or I'm going to become a executive director, or I want to achieve this, The first thing you got to do is you got to visualize it. The second thing is you got to do is you got to speak it into existence. The third thing is you got to do is you actually got to put action into it. But you got to ask yourself is, for instance, if you've got a Monday evening webinar on, or a Tuesday evening webinar, or an opportunity call, if your friends ask you, oh, by the way, we're going to be doing this, or oh, by the way, do you want to do this? Then sorry, I'm not available because I have got this thing that I'm doing. So it's very, very important that you write down exactly what you want, so you know what you're working towards, because otherwise you're going to look back in 2021 and say, oh yeah, I'm going to start in 2022. And then it's going to become 2023. I mean, I've been doing Manatech now for 12 years, going on 13 years. This has been a one-stop shop for me. So very, very important for you guys to realize that whatever it is, don't procrastinate. Make the decision today to decide, I'm going to do this. Because otherwise you're constantly going to be saying, I'm going to do it next year, I'm going to do it the year after. But if you know why you're doing, so if you say yes, it's going to take you closer to the things that you know that if those goals are aligned to whatever you're doing, then you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. So very, very important. Some of the other things I was thinking about this year, specifically from a business point of view, because obviously this evening is more of a business talk regarding Manatech, but like from a business goal point of view, there's an old adage in our industry that says, if you speak to one person a day, you'll get you $1,000 a month. If you're willing to speak to 2 people a day, you'll get to $2,000 a month. And if you speak to 5 people a day, it'll become $5,000 a month eventually. And if you're willing to speak to 10 people, you'll earn $10,000 a month or more. So I think for a lot of people, you think, oh, that sounds so easy, but like, could that really be possible? But I think if you do that long enough, you do that consistent enough, that is really what ends up manifesting. But the thing about it is that I've realized is if I don't have things in my diary, I've got these, I'm actually going to get Catherine to do a whole new like daily to-do list just for me, and maybe I'll pass it on to the group. But like, honestly, for example, I need to know exactly what I'm doing, because if I don't know what I'm doing, if I wake up the next morning and things are not planned, I don't know what I need to do. So if things are not written down, if they're not planned, you're not doing them. So I think one of the key things this year that you've got to do is you've got to make sure you plan your time, and we're going to talk about that in the next topic, but or at least in the next point. But so for me, very, very important for your goals, look at like, what is your event attendance going to be like? For instance, we had Dr. Nugent last night on the webinar. What is the most important thing you could have done yesterday? Was getting people on the webinar. It wasn't trying to read your Tom's book. It wasn't, anything else in your Manatech business, but getting people on that webinar, getting associates, getting prospects, getting customers on the webinar. So it's very, very important when to focus on what, because sometimes people are focusing on the wrong things. There's it's almost like there's game time. Like when Dr. Nugent's coming on, that's when I got to get people on that call. That if there's opportunity call, that's when I've got to get people onto that call. There's nothing else that's more important than getting people on that call. And that's what you promote, because you're one person away from your next explosion in your business. So very, very important to do that. So look at your event attendance. The next thing that I want to encourage all of you is, what are your exposures? What are your exposures that you'd like to do on a weekly basis this year? Like, are you willing to speak to 15 to 20 people a month, or is it 15 to 20 people a week? How many people would you like to expose information to? And when I'm talking about expose information to, I'm saying asking them the question, and we'll cover that a little bit now, but asking someone the question, listen here, by the way, would you be open to have a look at a presentation? Or by the way, hey, James, hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great holiday. Just want to wish you all the best for the year ahead. Listen here, by the way, I was thinking about you the other day, and I was just thinking how amazing you'd be at the business we're involved in. And man, would you all be open to check out a presentation or hop on a conference call with one of our doctors from America next Monday evening? I mean, that's asking the question. That is what actually pays you. And I think very often people, I constantly have, leaders say to me, or people say to me, oh, I'm trying to build the business. At the end of the day, if your business is not growing, it's because you're not asking people the question. We get paid. The income producing activities in your business is asking people to look at the presentation, asking people to go through the information, asking people if they're open to have a look at the information. So very, very important is asking the question. ATQ, ask the question. What you got to measure yourself for 2021 is, how many times a week did you ATQ? How many times did you ask the question? And ask the question is not saying to someone, hey, John, hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good holiday. That's not asking the question. Asking the question, by the way, listen here, my wife and I are launching a new phase in our business, or Manatech's just launching a new product. We're super excited about it. I'd love to send you some information on, or, oh, by the way, we've just launched a superfoods product, or, oh, by the way, we're launching our incentive in February. super excited about, listen, wouldn't you be keen to come to Mauritius with us? I mean, whatever. So it's really important that you actually ask the question, because I'm telling you now, you'd be shocked if you actually had to track your numbers on how many people you asked the question to. That's what you get paid for. That's the hard stuff, is asking the question. The easy thing is the presentation. The hard thing is asking the question. The hard thing is following up and closing, because that's when you get the rejection, or at least what you presume to be rejection, which is not really rejection. It's just them saying the timing's not right. So, and another thing is looking at your numbers on system. How many people, for instance, we had the Dr. Legion call last night. How many people in your group are on the call? Now, if it's just you on the call on your own, that's not a good thing. I mean, for me, if you are building a successful business and you're wanting to get to the next level, if you're at a director level, you should be having at least 5 people on that call. If you are an executive director, you should have at least, 10 people on that call last night, 10 to 15. And if you and your team promoted it properly and worked, you would have got those numbers up there. So very, very important is that you know what to focus on, what to look for, because these are the vital signs. These are the things that actually build the business. So marry the process, divorce the results. Just realize that you've got to visualize yourself just doing it. And I'm telling you now, if you do it long enough, it's just going to become a habit. A key thing here, which is very important, is to realize that the goal is important. The goal is important, what you're working towards. These business goals we've set, it's important. But visualize the goal and become addicted to the activity. Like, the focus should be the activity. I mean, Ray Robbins, who's our top income earner in our company, one of the top income earners in the entire industry, once said to me that your goals must always be activity driven and not results driven. So forget about like how many people you sign up or how many people you get on the product. All that you got to focus on, how many people did you ask the question to, how many people did you get on the presentation, how many people are you getting on system, because that's what duplicates, that's what grows your business. So very, very important. I hope that makes sense. So that's a little bit on goal setting. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know all of you. Let me tell you the one thing I do know. I can guarantee if you don't write down your goals, there's no chance you're going to achieve them. I can tell you that you're guaranteeing that at least if you write them down, that there's a chance. But if you don't write them down, if you don't know where you were, I mean, I not that it's important, but I mean, like, it's like, this is me like writing down my goals for the year. Like, I know exactly what my goals are for the year. I know what my personal goals are, my Manatech goals, my financial goals, relationship goals, family goals, faith goals, general goals. So, but I know what my 2021 how I'd like to be the year. And I've kept my diaries over the last 10 years because it's amazing for me that your diary is really your life. So if you want to change your life, if you want to have a good 2021, you've got to make sure you have a great day, because if you have a good day, you have a good week, you have a good month, you have a good year. But it all starts in the preparation. So the next thing is time management. We just spoke about that now. And for me, if you win the day, you win the week. So for me, very, very important. I completely understand people take, the weekend off sometimes when there's no function or whatever, and you've got to spend time with family. Absolutely. But like, for me, I think we overestimate exactly how much time it takes you to build this business. You've got to be able to block out 15, 30, 45 minute or 60-minute slots. So, and what I want to share with all of you is, if even if you're doing, most of us on this call here, like most people in Manatech are doing it part-time. But I'm telling you that if you have got 30 minutes you could put per day into Manatech, you can build a very successful business. If it's 30 minutes that are focused. I'm not talking about 30 minutes of, reading the Anthony Robbins' Ultimate Edge, or reading, the Magic of Believing, or Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. I'm not talking about reading the books. I'm saying if you could put in 15 minutes of focused time and say, okay, I've got 15 minutes now. I've got to quickly contact 5 people about the product. I've got 15 minutes today to quickly contact people about the business, or about the webinar, or about a new product we're launching. I've got 15 minutes to quickly follow up. But I'm telling you, if you can actually just focus on the one thing and actually ask yourself, is this an income producing activity? If you could put 15 minutes into it, I'm telling you now, you can do this. Because most of us end up just procrastinating. We think we're building the business, but we're actually just thinking about building the business. So very, very important is that you are actually focused, even if it's block out the time, however much time you can put into it. But I'm telling you now, if you win the day, you're going to win the week, you're going to win the year. You're going to make 2021 the best year you've ever had. So schedule a week, something off. I'm going to be focusing a lot more now. And this is I've just been reading a great book, which I've just finished. But what I want to encourage you to do is that, sit on a Sunday evening and schedule your week. When are you going to be exercising? When do you need to spend time with when are you taking your kids to school? Which is your hour of power that you can be blocking out when you're actually going to be doing your Manatech business building activities? Because I'm telling you now, if you don't schedule, it's not going to happen. So very, very important. Plan your week on a Sunday, so you know exactly what's happening on Monday. At 8:30, I'm doing this. At 10 o'clock, I'm doing my reach out to new people. 11 o'clock, I'm training or exercising. And 3 o'clock, this is my times I've got to, the afternoon to see people. So make sure you plan your week. And, I've just finished reading a book by Frank Betcher. It's a very, very old book. I think it must have been written in the 1940s, but it's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And I'm not saying all of you should go buy the book, but I'll tell you what the book's really all about is that imagine if you can sit down on a Friday or even on a Sunday evening and map out exactly on Monday, I'm contacting these 5 people. On Tuesday, I'm speaking to those 5 people. On Wednesday, those 5 people. On Thursday, those 5 people. And on Friday, those 5 people. So you already know who the 25 people are that you're speaking to next week. Or maybe it's only 2 people a day. But then you know exactly who are the 10 people I'm speaking to next week. So for me, I'm telling you now, your success in this business is all about your daily mode of operation, how you're operating on a daily basis. But I'm telling you now, big goals require big structures. If you've got big goals for 2021, if you haven't got the structures in place, it's not going to happen. It's going to be another one of those years where you're going to look back at it and say, oh, I could have, would have, should have. And everyone's heard that story. But I'm telling you now, if you want to get running, focus on that. I mean, I want to tell you something else also that I think is very important is that, and I think so few of us do this because we're so driven all the time on just seeing more people and talking to people, and I've got to sell product and I've got to, get people, customers or whatever. But something also that's quite nice to do if you want to do this on a Sunday is maybe like reflect on your wins and losses for the year. For the week. So for instance, this Sunday, look at things. What things went well? Which things didn't go so well? Where could I've improved? What could have I done better? Look at some regrets you may have and let go of it. Like you can't change. You can't change yesterday, and you definitely can't change. But the only way you can change tomorrow is by changing your attitude you have in the moment. But then whatever regrets you have, move on from that and then reset. So like, and know, okay, let me focus for the week going forward. But I'm telling you now, that's such an important thing to do, reflecting back on what you're doing, because it's going to give you so much better structure. Now, the fourth thing I want to talk to all of you about before we close off, I'd like to be done in the next 5 minutes or so, is accountability. And I'm going to chat to some of the presidentials and just see how they feel about this. But I mean, the one way of doing this is having an accountability partner, which might be your upline who you're mentoring with, where you are really, who's really holding you accountable. Because if you just remember in Manatech or network marketing, no one's there with the iron stick saying you got to contact 5 people. You're your own boss. You got to be self-driven and highly self-motivated. And sometimes you need someone to check up on you and make sure that you are doing what you said you're going to do. Because remember, it's just your goals. It's not your upline's goals. It's your goals that you have for yourself. So, but it's such an important thing to once a week check in. Let them know how you're doing. How are you doing? How are you managing with your engagements? How are you doing with getting people on the webinar? How are you doing with the system? Are you managing to plug in and read and listen and so forth? So, and for me, the key thing with this is like, I understand life is busy, but like if you say to your upline, this every Friday I'm going to be checking in with you, letting you know how my week went. It's fine to miss it once, but if you miss it twice, it's almost like that's it, because otherwise it's just people, if there's no structure, you end up just doing whatever you want. I mean, my wife gave me such a good example. I've got a personal trainer and I've been training with him for the last, 3-4 months. And he's been away, obviously now with holidays and everything. So I've been doing these classes at their gym. And Bertha says to me, she's like, geez, you're tired. It's the first time you've been coming here and you're like sweating and you're like exhausted. And I said, it's probably because I'm in a group. I'm not training with a personal trainer, just me and him. It's like I'm training with other people. So sometimes it's so important for some of us. We perform better when there's camaraderie, when there's people around you, and you end up pushing yourself a lot harder. And that's why I'm sort of thinking about maybe it could be quite a nice sort of thing to maybe do a group where all of us can get on a group and all of us can do our praise and recognition on there and get some success stories of people that are doing their reach outs, what they're doing, just to keep everyone motivated. Because that's and if I don't do this, you know, for my entire group, maybe a good thing for different PDs to have a group on there where you basically are sharing those things. Because that, I mean, and I've seen such an amazing thing. One of the groups, you know, just on visualization where they were doing their dream boards. Like, you know, people want to earn, you know, build this business, but they're not willing to do a dream board. And I was seeing today just some of the dream boards that people were doing. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, so well done to all of you who are doing your dream boards. I mean, I'm busy working on my dream board. It's quite nice with my office now. I've got like a desk where I, you know, can just, I don't have to make a board. I can just pin it in already, which is quite cool. So, but do a dream board. I mean, it's so inspiring to do that. But if I had to say, like, what are the things, the vital things to look at? You know, if I can maybe mention 4 things. I think the first thing is if you were going to reach out to an accountability partner, the first thing is, you know, once a week is to let them know. Maybe it's a Friday, maybe it's a Sunday. I'm not sure, whichever day you choose, but to let them know how many reach outs did you do, how many people did you actually talk to, because that's really where the rubber hits the road, is like how many reach outs did you do. The next thing is, how many of those people did you actually ask the question to? Did you pop the question to see if they're open? You know, it could be something as stupid as, you know, I'm just curious, would you be open to check out some information on a new product we're launching, Sonia? I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can really keep it simple. But first thing is reaching out. The second thing is asking to see if they're open. This, you know, would you be open if I send you some information? Or even what you could say is something like, you know, are you at all familiar with glycans? Are you all familiar with a product called Ambrotose? Or, you know, when people ask you what you do, you can say, listen, I've got a part-time home-based business and we teach and train people how to build a residual income online, you know, in the health and wellness industry. So for me, it's not so important what you say. It's whatever you say, it's about saying it with confidence and believing in what you're doing. Something I just want to share with all of you, and, you know, it's almost like a cycle. And the first thing is that the first thing you got to do is you got to believe. Like if you don't believe, you don't put in the action. Sometimes you got to put in the action to get the belief. But the first thing is believe and action almost go hand in hand. But sometimes people believe it, they're not doing the action. But if you really believed, you would do the action. The next thing you're going to realize, when you believe and you're putting in action, you start getting experience. And once you start getting experience, you become confident. So at the end of the day, what you'll realize is that the people that build the biggest businesses are not the people that know the most about the product or the comp plan or, you know, how to even prospect people. They're just the people that are confident because they've been doing it long enough, because they've got experience. The next thing is, when you start doing that and you're doing the action, it starts creating speed in your organization. That's how you create momentum. So for me, very, very important is just belief in action. It's almost like when you think about how you build, like, you know, one left, one right, like, or you build, maybe building a taproot, but it's like action, belief. Because that's really sums up the whole business. Because you really believe in everything, it's very easy to go out and go and put it in action. Because in the actual word, if you're not motivated, it's because you haven't got a big enough motive, and motive is you know, that's where it comes from. Motivation is action, motive of action, so motivation. So you've got to have a reason why you want to do it. But something I want to just leave with all of you this evening is this. There's this really cool website. It's called www.futureme.org, and it's actually a website where you can actually write an email to yourself. And what I want to encourage all of you to do, and I really know that, I mean, we've got 146, 156, close to 160 people on the Zoom call. We've got another 150, 130 people on the Facebook group all together on this call this evening. So I really know that most of us aren't going to do this because, you know, I just know statistically. But I want to encourage you, how about we all challenge ourselves and say to ourselves, this evening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write to myself a letter for 2021 that's going to be sent to me on the 31st of December, or perhaps it's the end of November, and exactly how I wanted my year to be. And write a letter for yourself in the future of what you wanted. And you might say that, you know what, you know, hi JP, you know, I hope you're doing well. Listen, yeah, I just want to say to you that I'm so proud of you that you have done this and this and this and this and this. Because here's the thing is, when you say or do those things, it really puts yourself, you're really putting pen to paper. It's almost like it creates a commitment that you don't want to disappoint yourself. So write down, what are some of the goals you have for this year? You know, I made this goal this year that I want to reach out to, you know, at least 20 people every month. Or, you know, I made this goal and, you know, I'm so glad that I've done this. But whatever goals you've set for yourself, why don't you write those goals to yourself and actually send those goals to yourself on the 31st of December, because that's going to hold you accountable. If you're keen to do that, I think it's quite cool to do that. So, well, maybe you don't think it's cool, but I think it would be quite cool to do that, because I think it's definitely, without a doubt, will hold people accountable. So, anyway, thank you so much for being on the call this evening. I really hope that was of value. I'm sure some of you gained a lot of value, and I just want to say thanks to Bertha as well for sharing. I really, I always think she always, has got such incredible, she's very sincere and authentic, and I think it's, it's also always great to, that's really what this business is all about, is being authentic and real and being yourself and going up there and inspiring people and helping people and having fun and, leaving people better off than what you found them. So I wish all of you all the best for the rest of the week, and look forward to chat to you guys soon. Thanks for making the time and effort to be on the call, and all blessings to all of you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.